Hiya, Don, Perry.
We're going to get started in about 30 seconds, just allowing the last few people to join. But if you can see and clearly and hear, can you hear Pete as well? If Pete, you can speak.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Can
you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah,
we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, so.
I'm waving. Can you see me wave?
We can't see that, Cheryl.
No,
And we can't hear you.
Hey, I'm just saying.
I'm going to mute your
Can you
mic.
turn your mic off?
We're going to be interviewing Pete. So that's why I wanted to check that his is working. But yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Awesome. So let's dive in. So yeah, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you
Hi,
are.
Michelle. Hi, Adrian.
In this session, we call it Shoulders of Giants, where we like to sort of grab one of you guys, a client who's doing amazing things, taking sort of some of our processes, mixed it with some of your own maybe, just to really sort of dig into what's working well for you, what's not, what advice you give to other people as well. And I think we've realized that you seem to listen more or just maybe applies more when you hear it from another recruiter rather than when you hear it from us. So we like to sort of do these every now and then. And today in this session, we've got Pete Walker, who, how long have you been working with us, Pete?
Just over a year-ish. No, a bit longer than that, I think.
Longer than a year, yeah. We interviewed you.
18 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 18 months or so.
Yeah, best 18 months of your life, I think you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself, Terry. Yeah.
Yeah, 18 months ago. Actually, I've listened back to the testimonial video you did a year ago, where in it you've doubled your revenue, and we actually wanted to get Pete Walker on to speak to him just right at the start of COVID. We had it scheduled in, but then was it actually COVID that you got?
I just think I don't think I did get COVID. I've not had COVID. I just got really busy probably, and I'm bad at cancelling, aren't I, Terry? To be fair.
Yeah. First time I've seen him for about 6 months.
Yeah. It is a case, obviously. Since then, you've gone from strength to strength. So we wanted to sort of get you on to interview and find out how it's gone. So as we go through the session, use the chat box on the right as normal to ask any questions that you've got for Peter. Either me, Terry, Darren, and Mike will sort of pass those to Peter, and just sort of aim to suck all the information you can from what Pete's doing, what's working for him, the processes that he's using. Pete, before we sort of jump into sort of asking questions, can you give us a brief overview of what your business is?
Yeah, absolutely, Drew. So I run a business called Brownlee Dean. We you can probably tell from the accent, I'm based in the north of England, Newcastle. And we're probably slightly different to probably some of the businesses on here in terms of we've got quite a large contract book. So we operate in major infrastructure, civil engineering markets, project-based staff. So it tends to be white-collar contractors, particularly from an engineering kind of perspective. So we're talking about big highway schemes, water treatment, roads, infrastructure, transport, rail, those type of disciplines is where we focus on. Mainly in the UK. We are looking at some overseas stuff at the minute. So yeah, I think it's split in terms of our business, probably 75% contract, 25% perm at the minute. And that was actually more lean towards perm last year, but we've kind of pivoted slightly this year in terms of really focusing in on the contract because, well, let's be honest, I think contract's been king off the back of COVID really. So we knew what we were good at and focused on that really.
How old is your business, Pete?
Business is coming up 2.5 years. So
when we first met, you hadn't been going very long,
Yeah, so we've been going just over a year when we first had a chat, Terry.
Yeah. Awesome.
So for anyone that doesn't know you, this is their first time sort of hearing from you. Can you paint the picture of what your business is like? If we go back sort of 18 months just before you joined the program, what your business looked like then?
Yeah, messy. If I'm being honest, I think more than anything, it was probably like many people. You start we're a fairly new business, so you start that business from scratch, and we didn't have an office or anything like that. It was just me essentially, and I suppose we were looking then at actually, how do we grow the business? We'd had a good kind of 8 or 9 months at the start, and I think I spoke to Terry because I was in a position where, looking back now, we were looking at bringing hires in, and in terms of headcount, but I was a little bit nervous about how we kind of structured that and went ahead with that. We still very much work on contingent because we are a contract supplier, but we have exclusive agreements within those within that contingency recruitment. So I was looking to shift really in terms of trying to build more exclusive relationships. So that's the original reason why I think me and you spoke, Terry, essentially.
Yeah. And how would you describe, a couple of questions here. Why were you considering bringing in other consultants is the first question.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's because that's all I've known really throughout recruitment. How you grow a business will be to just increase headcount. And working with you and Drew has obviously changed that mindset really. And funnily enough, I was looking at the figures actually before this call, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, but even this year, we've actually got the same internal headcount from November 19 to what we have November 20, other than a payroll and office manager we brought in, and she's only working a 3-day a week essentially, and we've doubled our GP in that period of time on the same headcount. So I suppose that kind of demonstrates basically probably the need just not to just throw headcount at it. I think, if we look at recruitment in general, that's what businesses do, don't you? You just throw headcount at it. And I think as a small business owner, where because we're not I always had ambitions to grow a business and not just be a solo recruiter. But I think we all know it's very difficult, I think, to attract high caliber, top billing recruitment consultants into your team. So, it's very much my business, and I'm the figurehead. And I think it genuinely, what I looked at, I thought, hang on a minute, if I bring another 3 people in, how much time is that going to take? Or how much time is that going to take off my plate in terms of training those individuals and basically bringing them on, when actually I could outsource a lot and just focus on the sales, focus on actually the money tasks. Yeah. And
I remember our very first meeting, and my opinion of first impressions, you were brutally honest with the business and how you were feeling. I mean, are you okay to share perhaps where your thinking was and where your head was at that time?
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of think back to how I felt. Isolated. Very much so. And I think I was certainly having a hard time at home. I had a little boy, and I was working stupid hours. I wasn't, I certainly wasn't getting on with my wife very well. I'm sure she'd say I was a nightmare around about that time. So
yeah, she did. Yeah.
So and I was looking at it thinking, hang on a minute, I started this business to add value and do something different. I was excited, and to be honest, I was getting absolutely worn down. And that was only a year or so in.
Just for everybody else, who else? Just type in the box if you've been there, where you set up this business and you've got this ambition, this goal, this dream. And how long are you into your business? A year into your business, you're thinking, shit, this isn't quite how I imagined. Just type yes in the box if you can relate to what was said there. Ever so common, yeah. So the impression I got is that you were brutally honest with me with everything that was going on in the business, both positive and negative. And we when we first talked, you'll probably remember, we didn't talk much about the business. It was more about your thinking and the way you were thinking then. Can you just talk us through a bit of that and where your thinking was then and comparison to now, please, Pete?
Comparison to now, yeah. I mean, my thinking then, there was no clarity of thought really. I think my self-talk was very negative, and I think that came across when I first spoke to you, Terry. I think it made me really kind of look myself in the mirror a little bit, and I didn't really like what I saw, to be honest. And it wasn't just it was something that was actually that I realised I'd been doing for quite a long time, and not just in a professional perspective, but actually from a personal perspective. My relationships at home and with friends were probably not as strong as they used to be, and I was very consumed with the business, and I just think I needed to step outside that and actually look at what was going on. Think in comparison to where I am now, I think what I've learned during that time is just the need to consistently work on that mindset on a daily basis, which I've been helped by a lot of the guys in here, Darren in particular. Little things like the daily mind medicine. I can't stress how important that is for me to actually, I live near the coast, so I go for a walk on the beach in the morning. I'll listen to daily mind medicine. It's only 5 minutes, but that the need for consistency to do that and have that morning routine. I think that for me the mindset piece about working with you guys is more important than anything else.
Just for those that don't know, Pete, for the new guys, could you just briefly describe what the daily mind medicine is? And if you just describe what it is.
So Jenny, I see you put that. Yeah, so it's basically it's just a podcast, like a 5-minute podcast, basically just with some positive mindset kind of things. So it's literally it's a guy from
Traffic and Funnels.
Traffic and Funnels, yeah. What's it called? Taylor Welsh, is it? That's it.
Yeah.
So he's in his car every morning. He's just he talks about his day and it gives some positive some positive talk out there. It's really kind of, it's just very, very simple, but really, really effective.
Excellent. Yeah, Darren's just shared the link. It's a free podcast, by the way. Yeah. But I think the point here is that I also, your garden's we all like a perfect garden, perfectly mowed and no weeds and everything. And that's what we want. And our mind's like that. But as you know, with your garden, if you just leave it, it's going to be overgrown with rubbish and weeds and everything. And your mind is exactly the same. And one of the beauties of things such as the daily mind medicine or the 4 critical factors is that it's that maintenance of your mind. Because as you rightly said, that's where the breakthroughs come with the mindset. And I'm sure most of the people here would be aware of that.
Sorry, Terry. Just on the mind thing, Pete, you said, that's the biggest shift for you. Can you sort of give us a picture of, how you were thinking before versus how you think now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there was a spell where if something, and actually Taylor Welsh talks about this in Daily Mind Medicine, and like if you're growing a business and you're busy, things are gonna go wrong, because that's just life. Things go wrong, so your fee drops out, or if someone accepts a counter offer, things go wrong. That's just recruitment, and that's just not in recruitment. That's just in life. And I think before that, I would be beating myself up. I'd be saying, well, why has it happened? It would affect me. It would really get me down, because it's my business and it hurts. Everyone's in the same position here. It hurts when something goes wrong in your business. It hurts. But I think you've got to. The shift is that I think whilst you're growing, and if you're doing the right things, action. If you keep taking action, you're going to come up against problems, and that's a good thing. You've got to think that is a good thing. Because inaction means you're not actually growing. And then if you're not coming up against problems, then you're not actually moving forward, if you understand where I'm coming from. And I think that's the main mindset shift mindset kind of shift I've had. And I just think the ability to, I think taken some of the stuff that I saw as what I needed to do off my plate and give that to people who, outsourcing companies, to actually take that and say, right, I don't need to be doing that. That's not making me money. I need to focus on actual money tasks. By the way, by the way, my little boy's like screaming downstairs.
We all get that. Just want to check in if that makes sense. What Peter's saying there. And yeah, any questions from me? Please feel free to type in the box, and we'll take the questions. Just going to quickly come to you, Mike, and then I'll come to you, Dan. It's be interesting your feedback on what's been said so far.
I think it's interesting, Pete saying, and sort of agree 100% in terms of mindset. If you get the mindset piece right, everything else can fall into place. And I think if your mindset isn't in the right place, no matter how hard you're working doing all these other bits and pieces, it's going to feel like an uphill struggle. And I think Pete was saying, you run your own business, for yourself, things are going to go wrong. And when things go wrong, it's good to be upbeat when everything's going right. And it's difficult to maintain that when things don't go right. But that's the important time when you really need to do the work on the mindset. It has to be a continual thing, really.
Yeah, you've got to work on it, and it's not. I agree with you, Mike, and it's not easy. It's not easy to create. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it. And the fact is, the majority of people don't invest the time to create a habit, and it does take time to work on it every day. And you'll have days where you listen. You're gonna have days when you struggle, because that's life, and you've just got to take that for what it is and move forward. But I certainly think of what's happened this year in the world. And listen, we're all more anxious than we ever have been. I feel it. But I certainly think if I hadn't been working with you and Drew, Terry, that I would have been in a far weaker position in terms of how I dealt with it, in terms of my business and my staff. And I've got a team of 3, and they needed me to stand up and be counted in March, April, and I don't know if I had maybe the tools to do that, in terms of mindset tools, look after that probably before I started working with you guys.
I'm going to ask you a bit later on about some of your successes, but just a few questions have just come in. Cheryl said, Pete, how do you start your day? What is giving you the success? So what's your...
Yes, how do I start my day? Well, I've got a 2-year-old, so I'll be honest with you, and I don't want to lie to you. Sometimes the kind of morning routine gets a bit interrupted, but generally it's like I go down for a run on the beach. I listen to Daily Mind Medicine, and very simple. I don't use day one that Darren uses, but I just write down what I'm grateful for, and I write down my long-term goals, and that's it basically. But what I also like to do is and certainly pre-pandemic, when we're all kind of traveling more to offices and such like, I just listen to audiobooks in the car consistently.
Just very quickly, decide on that. Favorite audiobook for you?
I think mine, Profit First. Absolutely love it. Yeah. I've now got about 7 bank accounts with various different bits of money in, if anyone's read it. So, honestly, I don't know if anyone's read it, but it's such a fantastic book. Like, it's just, brilliant. I do go back to Brian Tracy's Psychology of Achievement quite regularly, to be honest. That's that's my like dose of if I'm having a bit of a wobble, I think.
Excellent. So go on, Drew, go on.
I want to sort of break down your journey into 3 main parts. I want to look at the attention and the marketing side, conversion and the sales side, and also the execution, how you deliver. You mentioned earlier that you doubled your gross profit from over the course of the year, keeping the same headcount. And I have a question for here from Cody. I sort of want to dig more into that. For you, what's been the most significant thing that changed in your business, and what's been the impact?
Yeah, it's a It's a good question. I think we looked at the metrics from last year. There's two areas we felt we needed to change this year. We needed to look at our client acquisition and how we were doing that. Essentially, we've always just been pick up the phone and try and get business. So so there's a couple of things that have really worked well on that side, and LinkedIn chat has been. We've had so much success, particularly over recent months, in terms of conversion on LinkedIn chat. So we've converted 3 clients in the last few months of just a first connection LinkedIn chat process. We're looking at, and that's something that's so simple to implement and outsource. Like if you look through your first LinkedIn connections, there's so many connections that probably are in your target market that you've never been able to get a hold of or picked up the phone to. So we use a client magnet. So we have a couple of ebooks. We just like you guys do. Because Drew, to be honest, your VA keeps sending me. So yeah, we offer them an ebook, and then it's just so simple. We look to the kind of for a response on that. If we get a response, then we enter into that kind of chat function where we've just basically saying, listen, out of interest, if a top site engineer wanted to join your team and hit the ground running in the next 60 days, would you have room for them? Simple as that. And we are getting so much traction from that at the minute. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then yeah, in terms of kind of other things, I think a couple of things we looked at the end of last year. So that was the client acquisition side we looked at, and our marketing side, but also we looked at actually how could we increase the business we had with our current clients. So we've actually looked at the metrics. So I know this is different for some guys because we're mainly contract, and a lot of guys will be executive perm and retained here, but we actually looked at that number, and we had 2.85 contractors out per client in 2019. So we've increased that to 3.42 in 2020. Now, when you break all that down, if you look at that, we've actually gone right through the metrics and looked at it and said, right, okay, we make on average £225 a week per contractor. So you're also almost at it, and our contractors start with our end clients for an average of 19.2 weeks. So actually, when you put all those figures together, you're almost increasing one contractor for each client. We had 29 live clients in 2020 today. I've worked it out. Just that increase of an extra contractor working per client has made us in the region of £124,000 GP this year. So it's about breaking down those metrics. So we looked at two things. We looked at the client acquisition and how can we actually grow our current client base, and our revenue with each client. And I think a lot of that came from staying very close to them during the pandemic. We didn't panic and stop. We just tried to keep those conversations going, and a lot of it wasn't about work, but it helped us no end coming out the back of it.
Awesome. One thing that I'm really getting from what you said there is just and again, we speak about a lot of the importance of knowing your metrics and knowing what your numbers are. I think, you gave some very specific numbers there that I think a lot of businesses wouldn't know. And I think only when you know those numbers, you can look at, okay, how can I improve them? What can I work on to get better from that? So brilliant. I want to check in for everyone else listening. Let me know in the chat box what you've found most useful so far from what Pete shared. Darren and Mike, anything to sort of add or ask Pete?
I'd be interested to hear from Pete. I mean, he's obviously come a long way during the course of this year. What are your plans, your business objectives for next year, and how do you see coming out of the pandemic impacting on that positively, negatively, or not at all?
Yeah, I mean, we are, I say we're fortunate, but we're not really, because we've positioned ourselves in this market for a reason, because it's recession proof, or to a certain degree. You've got, in the construction, you've got two sides of the coin. You've got construction built environment, which is quite honestly floundering. No one's building offices in the middle of city centres anymore because no one's using offices. But we work within critical infrastructure, and that is key. You know, we're the government. We looked at what the government are going to spend over the next 10 years, and it's all critical infrastructure, HS2, highways, water, Environment Agency, flood alleviation, all these type of projects. That's where our market is. So, but what we're also seeing is the businesses are leaner now. They've had to cut their fixed staff cost base, and we're seeing that's actually a really positive thing for because actually when these businesses pick back up again, and this accounts to all sectors really, which they will do post-pandemic, there's going to be opportunities there, because I think a lot of businesses have actually reduced their cost base and are looking at their staff and thinking, well, actually, can we be leaner? But when we do pick up work, we're going to have to deliver these projects. So I think contracts going to continue to boom, Mike. We've got IR35, which is in the way, but we had that issue last year and mitigated that quite well. And I think the key for us, we're seeing a really strong year next year. And actually, our pipeline for the first quarter is incredible again. And we've already done our numbers on next year. So we know to deliver our GP target for next year, we've got to acquire 15.72 clients, I believe. Awesome. And there's lots of metrics to go into that, which I won't go through. I can send you some information on it. That's fine, all you guys. But that, we've got that nailed down, and my team know what that number is and how we're going to find it, essentially.
It's a question for everybody here. I mean, that's a great number there, and we constantly talk about knowing your numbers. How many here know exactly how many clients they need to acquire next year to achieve their goal? I mean, that's knowing your numbers. That's awesome.
Also, as well, one thing I want to highlight is when Pete's talking, he's talking about profit and not revenue. Right? A lot of people have revenue goals and what they do revenue-wise and sort of ignore the profit, whereas Pete is talking about profit first, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think another number that's like interesting in our business as well is because. And we highlighted this year, at the back end of last year, our net profit to gross profit ratio was 27.5%, and that was something that we needed to. I wasn't happy with that number. So that number year to date has gone up to 34.2% in 2020. Now it doesn't sound that much, but that's quite a big shift. So actually, we've looked at not only. We've not just looked at how we can grow client acquisition and grow revenue and sales, but we've also looked at where can we lean up in terms of our costs without going berserk on headcount.
Yeah, brilliant. So I want to sort of, go back to sort of April time. You used the word earlier. You talked about pivot. You were more perm, then you had to pivot because of what was happening with the economy. So. Can you talk to us a bit about how you took the processes that you were using to win perm business and sort of, I guess, readjusted to, win more temp business?
Yeah, our percentage in perm revenue was higher last year, and it was a strange one for us actually because we actually thought it was going to go the other way. I don't want to get into IR35 because people who understand it will know what I'm talking about. But the IR35 sector reform private sector reform was going to come in April. So actually, what we saw there was a lot of the temp vacancies and potential was going to dry up, and actually it was going to move to perm. So we're actually gearing up for actually a larger proportion of perm, and then all of a sudden, COVID came in, IR35 was cancelled. And all this thing we've been gearing up for never happened. So all of a sudden we had to think, crap, we've got to go back to contractors again. So I think what we did, we as I said before, we stayed very close to clients. We upped the marketing side. So we started running webinars and kind of getting our name out there a little bit, and actually just having really good conversations. What we found is that not that many of our competitors were actually ringing our clients anymore, which for me was just a bit bizarre. I think everyone just stopped and thought, actually, I can't ring people because it's insensitive. But actually, I've had some incredible conversations with hiring managers during that first lockdown period. The conversation I would have never ever had the opportunity to have again. And I think, in answer to your question about kind of pivoting, Drew, like, listen, it's probably easier for us because we had that. We're still a very contract focused business, but we essentially went for project level staff, and we focused on where the money was still being spent, in what sectors was it still being spent. So there was no highways never stopped. They didn't stop building motorways. So we basically thought, right, hang on a minute, who is still recruiting, where they're still recruiting, we've got to focus on the critical infrastructure areas, and simply shift to those sectors.
Awesome.
You talked about pre and post pandemic. I'm just curious. I've never asked this, but what was your reaction the day when the Prime Minister announced the lockdown, and how did you see the world? That, I think it was a Thursday he made the announcement. What was your immediate reaction, and how did you see things going?
Well, I think we're all. I think if I said I wasn't worried, I'd be lying. I suppose I wasn't really concerned from like a personal health perspective. That didn't really worry me. I know a lot of people were anxious about that. But yeah, I'm trying to think how I felt really. I think I just thought, right, you know what? I've been here before. I've started a business from scratch when I didn't have any clients, and I was in restrictions from my previous business, because the previous business I was there for 11 years, so I had quite tight restrictions. Obviously, I was a key biller for them. So I've been there before. I'd set up a division in the last recession, actually, a new division in Newcastle, a new office with a colleague. So I'd kind of used that experience from before and thought, you know what, we've been here before. If we have to start from scratch again, we'll start from scratch. And I think a combination of having that previous experience and also the mindset element of actually thinking, well, do you know what, take some perspective on things. What am I grateful for? No one's, my family's safe, my business is still running. If we've got to go again, we've got to go again.
And the reason I asked, Pete, is that it's interesting. You said the announcement was made, and you said, I'm going to up my marketing. As you rightly pointed out, a lot of your competitors did quite the opposite. And I was just intrigued as to what your thinking was. It says, and I know I was talking to Mike the other day, Mike Merrick, and he said exactly the same thing. Darren, exactly the same. We stepped up our marketing. So I'm just fascinated as to what your thinking was to go, actually, I'm going to step it up rather than step back.
I mean, I had this was quite one member of my team like strongly disagreed with me on this, by the way. So it was quite difficult to actually explain that, listen, you've got to keep going here, but you've just got to change your message. The message has changed. It's how are you? It's like how are you actually genuinely, how are you doing? Are you okay? And and all that human side, and that opened up loads of conversations for us. And you say, how many of our competitors have called you, and I haven't heard from them in weeks, and people actually yes, a lot of it was like not business related to a certain degree, and some people were having a whinge about the personal circumstances, which is fine. But I think it allowed you to get really under the bonnet of what people were feeling and what was important to them, both clients and candidates. And And that was a really important period for us, really important. And I truly believe that helped us come out the other side in a strong position.
Definitely. Well done, mate. Excellent. Thanks, Pete.
The question here from Andrew Sell said, what kind of ebook / client magnet do you use for contract hiring?
Yeah, so we've got a couple. I've got one that, to be honest, I nicked Mike's actually and changed it.
That's what we all did.
Yeah. Yeah. Has anyone else got? Because yours is great, Mike. To be fair, so just did a few little tweaks to that, because the same situation applies. So ours is called Why You're Losing. We've got one called Why You're Losing the Battle to Attract Elite Construction Talent and What You Can Do to Fix It. So I'm happy to send a copy of that. We've just taken Mike's and branded it in and changed a few little pieces. So that's one of them. Then
did you remove his photograph?
I did, yeah. It's not going on
man.
there anymore. Yeah, and his bio, yeah. Yeah. And then we've got another one actually, which is about surrounding IR35, which to be honest is really specific to our industry, and actually really it's a very important topic because there's some changes in legislation come April. So this is a really important kind of time to have that ebook going out to clients. So actually, when clients download that, we realise they've probably got problems with IR35 they need help on. So it's actually quite a nice call, because it's do you need help with IR35? We can help you. This is how we're supporting clients, but also, are you doing some hiring? And it's like decoy selling to a certain degree. So
again, on the market, I know you mentioned that chat's working really well for you. But if someone's listening to this, what advice, or what sort of the one thing or few things that you say you've taken from our program on the marketing side that you think everyone should be doing right now?
10 before 10.
10 before 10.
Got to do 10 before 10. Yeah.
So okay, so
got to do it. Yeah, I think the link. So I can't choose one, to be honest, Jim. Can I choose like three? Is that?
Yeah, that's fine. Even better.
All right, mate. Yeah. So I think you need a good client magnet. So we started doing podcasts actually. So called Tier 2 Talk. So actually, we've got a couple now. So we're gonna have two of our consultants sending out ebooks, and I'm going to be doing the connections to more CEOs actually looking to bring them into the podcast. So they're our key ones at the minute, our client magnets. Then your 10 before 10 is an absolute must. And listen, we all and it doesn't matter whether it's 10 before 10. It could be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like we found that actually one of my consultants does it between 3:30 and 5:30, because that's where she finds she gets a better traction of getting hold of individuals. So it doesn't really matter what time of day it is. It's just you've got to do it. I can't do it at that time because I'm useless after 3:30. So to be honest, I need to get up in the morning and do it, because it makes me feel like I've been productive. And I think you'll agree with this, Drew and Terry. The 10 before 10 is the perfect setup for your day, because if you have the first, I don't know how anyone else feels, but if I waste the first couple of hours of the day not really having a plan or doing a great deal, then the rest of the day is messy. It doesn't follow suit. So I feel, for me personally, 8:30 in the morning, 10 before 10, get that done, get those calls in, and it just sets me up nicely for the rest of the day. So 10 before 10 and the client magnet, definitely.
Yeah, and of course the chat that you mentioned.
And the chat's been great for us. And the chat is so easy to outsource. And sometimes, instead of, I would say, have a look at your first LinkedIn connections first. Your first connections, because there'll be people in there who have probably seen your presence on LinkedIn that you've maybe never reached out to before. They've not reached out to in a long time. That probably warmer prospects.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Question here from Don, who says, how many prospective clients do you need to make proposals to get your 15 new clients for next year?
Yeah, it's difficult this to be honest, Don, because I think we've only tracked this on contract so far. So we've tracked it on perm before, but we've not put the metrics in place for next year on perm. So it's a little bit different on contract. We have generally seen that within 24 calls we can get a triage call.
So dial is that?
No, that's 24 actual conversations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you've got to remember, it's probably easier to get connections for us than it would be for someone working in executive search.
And do you know how many triage calls would lead to a sales call? And
yeah, so triage to sales call. Usually when you get triage call, we've got a pretty good conversion on sales call. So I think it's about 40%-ish.
40%, and then you know. Sorry, Terry.
No, go. That's all right, Karen.
Yeah, so if you get a sales call with a client, you know how many of those you would need?
I think again, at that point, it's gaining the exclusivity is a big part of us being able to convert that, because certainly on contract, if you've got exclusivity on a contract role that is in your market, the chances of actually filling that role increase to over 90%. It's when there's competition. So I can't stress enough. Like this is it. We all know this. That it's competition in recruitment is what kills you, really.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit more about the conversion element of your business. You mentioned exclusivity quite a lot. So yeah, before joining us, again, you said that one of the sort of things you wanted to fix, one of the problems you had was you weren't winning enough exclusive roles. So what have you changed in your sales process, sales script, whatever it is that's helping you get more exclusives? If it's a mindset thing, whatever it is, what was it that sort of helped you go from, typically competing with other recruiters on every vacancy that you get versus locking in that exclusivity deal with the clients? Like you said, 90% chance of filling each role that you get.
Yeah, I think it's just all about talking about value first, and that's where we were going wrong. It's all about demonstrating the value and the benefit to the client of working exclusively. Because we all know what we could all reel off those benefits of why that is: quality over speed, high percentage of the candidate remaining in the role. There's 20, 30 examples of what those are. We know what those are. We should do. But it's just actually demonstrating that and explaining that to the client, and also using examples of where we've done that before. Like I've got a couple of really good testimonials lately, which is another thing, to be honest, I would like social proof again. It has been key in actually us being able to demonstrate our value. We actually work with a large mining client who we've done a lot of work with this year and the previous year. Now, one of their competitors is tendering for a large project in Portugal. It's a deep mine project, and we, on the back of the testimonial that the HR director did for us, we've sent that across, and they're interested in speaking to them on the back of that testimonial. She spoke to them as well about our performance actually on the project. So she's done an amazing. Yeah, she's gone over and above. So they're not, you're probably not going to always get a testimonial like that, but it just shows that social proof has been key, basically.
Perfect. So again, you mentioned that when you lock in the exclusivity, you've got a 9% chance of filling the role. Do you know what it was before you get any exclusive agreements?
Oh, I don't know the exact figures, but I would under 50%. I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't stress enough how important that is.
And so you said that one of the things that you shifted, you now talk about the value of the exclusive agreement whereas before you weren't. Now, between you and your consultants, were you actually asking for the exclusive business before, but just not getting it, or was it a case of that now you feel confident asking as well?
Yeah, we weren't asking enough.
Yeah, okay.
Just to come in here.
I don't think we actually. Yeah, maybe articulating that to the client. I think you guys have helped us with that. To really kind of talk through that and explain. Listen, you've got to. This is how you would present that to a client, essentially, and that's key. So, yeah, I think in recruitment in general that we don't ask for exclusivity enough.
And just to come in there, because you made a really good point. Most of the new clients, when they come into the program, we encourage exclusivity or retained. They will argue that their market won't do it. And the question I always ask is, well, do you ask for exclusive or retainer? And of course they don't. So if you don't ask, you'll never get it. So just the very fact that you ask substantially increases your chances of getting it. And the same with your fee, by the way. Often clients say to us, oh, my clients won't pay over 20% or 25%. Have you ever asked? Because what we know is a percentage will pay you a higher fee and a percentage will do it on the exclusive as well. And that's a great example there, Pete. Thank you.
Yeah. Just one more thing on that. I think on the perm side, we've just been through an exercise where we've actually productized our services on perm. So, and we're just finalizing what those are going to look like at the minute, but we're going to get that branded and actually market that out. So, what I mean by that is when you're on, if you use something like Asana or Monday.com, a project management tool like that, you'll always have like 3 options where you can have the basic package for £20 a month. You can have the silver package for £40 a month. You can have the gold package for £80 a month. And this is what you get for each. Yeah. So basically, so we could have. So what we've done is we've said, right, okay, well, okay, Mr. Client. Well, if you want that, if you want to pay 15%, you're going to get the 3-month rebate scheme, and these are the basics you're going to get. If you want the gold package, then we're going to do everything for you. We're going to basically have assessment days. We're going to do psychometric testing. We're going to do a 12-month rebate scheme. We're going to have HR outsourcing. We're going to do the lot. Then you want to have the one in the middle where, yes, okay, you'll have psychometric testing, you might have video interviewing software, you'll get a 9-month free replacement scheme, and that's going to cost you 20%. And actually, like that's a really good way of the client. It's just almost a psychological thing of the clients. Well, actually, I actually want some of those options in the silver package. And then you would say, well, actually, we can't have that on that price, but we can knock a bit off that if you give us exclusivity on your next 5 roles, for example. You've got something you've got some leverage to work with, basically.
Yeah. And then the lesson there.
So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, brilliant. And the lesson there for everybody is that 20% of your market will pay for a premium service if you offer it. I want to repeat that. 20% of your market will pay for a premium service if you offer it. And if you take nothing else from this, go away and ask yourself, what's the premium service I can offer to my clients? Because a percentage will buy.
Exactly.
And it's so much more profitable.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you're going to offer 12-month free candidate replacement scheme, for example, you're not going to do that on contingent, are you? Because the chances of you getting that role right and actually filling it are pretty slim. So you've got to look at actually where's the best, and it might not be 12 months. It could be anything. I'm just using an example, but if you're working in the market that you're an expert in, if you've got exclusivity or retained, if you've got genuine exclusivity, not just they say they're going to give you exclusivity, if you've got genuine exclusivity or retained, then it's been proven that the percentage chance of that candidate staying in that role and actually developing through that business and being a success for that business is increased dramatically. And I'm sure Darren and Michael will agree with me on that.
Yeah, I just want to just want to check in with everyone else. Can you let me know in the chat box what's been the most useful part? Got from Pete talking about the conversion element of his business, the sales bit. Let me know in the chat box what's been most useful for you. And then, yeah, I just want to go to Darren and Mike, get thoughts, feedback, anything to add on what Pete said to say.
So I think that, Pete, you are now very calm, very considered, and clearly working on the business. And that wasn't always the case. You're right. It used to, some of the early calls we had, you were, pretty stressed about having to do everything and trying to juggle all of those balls. I remember the conversations we had. Do you remember kind of when you realized actually this is now working and I can see how this is going? Was there some event or something that happened where you realized actually I'm onto something here?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of clients where they came to us because we approached them, and actually they'd gone round the houses a little bit with the typical agencies that we're using and said to us, actually, we've spoke to other people about what you do, and we actually, we need help with this, and I never thought these businesses would give me exclusivity, because traditionally they're not the type of businesses that would. But obviously it's working, and they're thinking about it as well. They're thinking, hang on a minute, this contingency, giving it to 5 agencies isn't really working for us. And I think that at that point I thought, yeah, this is working as well. I think it's the beauty of this. It like repels certain businesses you probably don't want to work with and attracts the businesses that you do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to work with everyone. If everyone wanted to work with us, we wouldn't have enough hours in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, mate.
Sorry.
Mike, anything to add? Thoughts, feedback, questions?
Yeah, I think it's just interesting to. I think a couple of points for me that are taken away from this, and people saying, going back looking back at the first lockdown, Ian made a conscious decision to reach out, keep in touch with people, and I think that for me really emphasizes the importance of, in the business that we're in, it's about building those relationships with people. And if somebody doesn't want to buy today, and they don't have a need today, you can't do anything about that. What you need to do is put yourself in a position that when they do have a need, you're the person they think of, and there is a relationship there. And I think the other thing is where Pete is now, he seems to have a very clear vision of where the business is going in the next 12 months. And I think if you know where your business is going, and you have a structured plan to get there, and you know your numbers as well as Pete, which I must confess I don't, the chances of him ending up where he wants to be is significantly enhanced.
Yeah,
I think it gives everyone else confidence as well in your team.
Yeah,
if you've got a team, I think that's key. Perry, I know you. Sorry, just jumping out. I know you asked a question about the ebook there. Sorry, not about the ebook, about LinkedIn chat. The LinkedIn chat is just to get them into a conversation, pretty similar to what Mike just said. It's more about trying to find if they're hiring in the next 60 to 90 days, really, and then you can go in, then you take hopefully a 10 before 10 and a triage call and a sales call, and then during that process, that's when you would talk about the premium package, really, because I think if someone's hiring now, you've probably missed the boat. It's more about trying to find out what they're doing in the future, and then you can be in a position to gain exclusivity from there.
Perfect. Just going to go to the chat box, a few comments here. Adrian said that he got an exclusive the other day. His first time asking. Brilliant. Takeaways from Michelle. Utilizing the process and seeing the results. Damien, key element of seeing the results. Don, a deeper understanding of numbers as a business driver. Yeah, that's a big one. For Shao, key takeaway is offering a premium package to get exclusivity. Andrew as well, 3-level approach. Jeff Fisher, profit first. And Adrian again, knowing your numbers, LinkedIn chat, and selling the benefits of exclusivity. So yeah, I think people find it really useful. I want to sort of switch now away from the sort of sales and conversion to your delivery and the execution of what it is that you do. I want to start with, you going from essentially contingency to getting more exclusive business. how did that affect your ability to serve your clients?
It's just the actual. I think the important thing to mention is the intrinsic kind of feeling you get from not having to chase business because you're that scared that you're not going to fill the business that you've got, and that gives you quite a lot of power, and it makes you feel good. It just makes you feel good. Let's be honest, it just makes you feel good. And I think one thing that I think in terms of language you use as well, like if you can explain it to your clients in that, you know, I want to work with you exclusively because it means that I'm going to spend less time chasing new business so I can spend more time helping you win, like that. And I know that's in the referral script that we use that I think you guys helped us with, and that's really powerful language, because at the end of the day, you know, if you can get exclusivity and more business from one client and develop that kind of long-standing relationship, then you don't have to spend endless hours, you know, trying to spread yourself too thin, picking up the phone, trying to knock on doors, building new relationships. Essentially, you can have that going on in the background via your outsourcing process on LinkedIn, and then essentially, as Mike and Darren will confirm, you're then only really speaking to people who are hiring in your market, you know, in the next 60 to 90 days. So I think certainly explaining to the client that it's that the reason why we're looking for exclusivity is yes, we can deliver a far more value added service that will get you the best candidates in the market, but also it means we can spend more time working on helping you and strategy for the business, for the recruitment position of the business, as opposed to actually going out and trying to win new stuff.
Awesome. And talk to me a bit about sort of the systems that you've sort of built over the last 12 months. You spoke a lot about outsourcing. Obviously, you've got a team as well. How have you been able to sort of, you know, I guess, take what we share and pass it off so it's not just you doing it? I remember, just to take you back, when you first joined, one of your big motivators was wanting to leave work early, spend more time with your son. So you've been able to do that. How have you sort of translated, you know, getting some information from us and then sort of passing it off to different members of your team for them to do the execution part?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's still probably the one area that I find a challenge, and I think it's just been able to. I think you need to have kind of, if you've got a team, you need to have like a set process for who's accountable for what. So, you know, I know my I've got a 1A consultant who just purely focuses on candidate attraction. So what Tom will have in my team, Tom's actually got our outsourcing company. He's got them connecting with candidates in our market and then looking to tie them into a call, key candidates into the market. So it's almost a LinkedIn chat process and the outsourcing again to bring the candidates on board, whereas I'm focusing on, and my other colleague are focusing purely on the client acquisition. So I think it's just understanding exactly, you know, who is doing what and where the focus needs to be, essentially.
Just on that, so did you say that you've got, you know, one of your consultants, they're effectively managing a team of outsourcers who are focused on the candidates?
No, well, yeah. So what we've got is, so we use top resourcing. So basically, so one of my consultants is essentially engaging with, he engages with his candidate. So essentially he qualifies, engages with the candidate. He does engage with the client as well, but he's actually got top resourcing, mapping out candidates for him in the market and actually putting on. So what top resourcing do for him, essentially, he sets up a LinkedIn project board with all of his, or LinkedIn project search with a certain amount of disciplines in the target market that he's looking to connect with, and then top resourcing will then basically go through, connect with all those individuals, try and get CVs for them, try and time into a bit of a call. He has a call list, just like a 10 before 10, but for candidates essentially. And then he's qualifying those candidates, and then basically the top resource and actually then put the CVs onto the system as well, onto our CRM. So we're trying to take all the admin side off his plate, so he can just purely focus on actually speaking to the candidates.
I think awesome. So I'm checking in, find as usual, so if I just give me a yes in the chat box. So Pete, just to sort of wrap up.
Yeah.
I just want to get a picture of numbers, and I've got a few questions, just advice to give to other people as well. So you mentioned your gross profit right at the start of the call. So what are you saying, that's doubled over the last 12 months?
So GP it's more than doubled. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
yeah, incredible.
So over the last, just to recap on that, over this last 12 months, so during the pandemic and lockdown, your profits have doubled.
GP's doubled, yeah.
GP has doubled. Well done. Excellent.
And what about on the client acquisition side? How many new clients have you brought in over the last 12 months?
Yeah, over the last 12 months, we brought in 13 new clients in the last 12 months, and we had 29 live clients. The previous year, we had 9 drop off, and we've had another 13. Oh no, actually 14. We had one yesterday, so 14 new live clients this year.
Excellent. Well done.
Brilliant. So yeah, I guess sort of question would be, what would you say to somebody who was like new in the program, or maybe they've been in a few months? What sort of would if you look at your journey over the past 12 months or 18 months, what sort of, what do you wish you knew back then that you know now? I guess is probably the better way to ask it. Sorry.
I think the biggest learn for me probably is that the amount of time I was wasting on tasks that didn't generate revenue. And it's that 80-20 rule that we all talk about. I think, yeah, the consistency of activity is key, and that activity could be, well, it's definitely 10 before 10. It's LinkedIn outreach, it's marketing. We've all got a marketing funnel. We know all the kind of different the marketing streams are endless. But if you're going to do that all yourself, you're going to get in a right mess, and you're never going to do it. So it's all about kind of thinking, right, well, what's key to me? So we're not, I'll be honest with you guys, we're not doing absolutely everything that you and Terry teach us. We want to get there, but we're not doing everything now. But what we've done is we've stuck to 3 or 4 core principles, and we've done it consistently.
And that's a key word there.
Consistency is the key. Yeah, consistency is the key. Consistency is the key to everything. And if you can do that activity consistently, then that's perfect. But you've got to try and help yourself by unloading some of that and getting it off your plate.
So on that, what's the you've outsourced a lot, you've got a lot off your plate. What's the one thing you wish that you offloaded sooner?
LinkedIn chat.
Yeah.
The wins we're getting from LinkedIn chat is just, it's unbelievable, and it's so simple. Why would you spend time like directly messaging your LinkedIn connections, your first connections, when you can outsource that into a chat process that you put together, get that to someone like Top Resource in your, I know Darren, you use Top Resource, and I can't stress enough how good them guys are. They're very professional. We have them on a monthly basis, so it costs us, we've had him working 8 hours. Well, one of our guys works 8 hours a day, so it costs £1,000 a month for him to work 8 hours a day for us. in December, we're not going to be here for obviously from Christmas to New Year. So we can knock that down. You can basically knock that down to say 6 hours a day or 4 hours a day to 725 or £500 a month. Now, if you think you've got a resource working 8 hours a day on your marketing for £1,000 a month, it works out at about £5.75 an hour. So why would you waste? You know, I think you've got to ask yourself what's your hourly rate, and is your time best spent messaging people on LinkedIn, or is your time best spent actually working on the business, speaking to clients who actually and candidates who are in the process who want to buy from you, and then getting someone like Top Resource and doing everything in the background.
So just on that, and also that was the last question, but I do want to dig deeper just because of what you said. I know people will hear what you said just then, and they'll think, yeah, it's £1,000. I don't really want to spend £1,000. And I think everyone who goes through the outsourcing process, or even, you know, any investment making business, there's this, I guess, mental blockage where you don't want to make that leap, or you're scared to make the leap. Talk to us about, you know, for you, you know, where you said, you know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go all in, £1,000 a month. I'm going to do it. How did you make that transition from, you know, wanting to keep everything yourself, wanting to keep the revenue yourself, not wanting to spend?
It takes a bit of a mind shift. It does, because I was very much the same. I felt the same, Joe. I felt like, well, hang on a minute, you know, this is quite a lot of money, and I think in recruitment we want to be busy, but I was busy. I came to the realization I was busy doing the wrong things. I was busy doing the wrong, and you know, you've got to think, you've got to look at the metrics as well. If you're speaking to, if you've got 50 CEOs in your target market, and you've connected with them, you've maybe sent them a client magnet, and then you've engaged them in LinkedIn chat, and you convert 50 of those guys into maybe 3 triage calls, and you get one sales call and one conversion into a retainer that's maybe worth 20 grand, for example. It's costing you £1,000 a month, or it might even cost you £500 a month. You don't have to go for 8 hours; you could go for 4, but it's already paid for itself. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And if that happens every month, then it really, you know, if you look at it that way, you've got to look at the ROI. You've got to look at the return on investment. And if you've not getting the return on investment, that's fine. But I can guarantee you should be doing if you're looking at it properly and getting that function working well.
Yeah, Christian just said he does 4 hours a day, and it's 525. I guess euro, that is. So about this, yeah, there is much similar, but yeah, as you rightly said, you don't have to do 8 hours a day. But
yeah, it
spend the right time to,
it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be, you know, because we've not, and the beauty of it is, like, if you're looking, you get someone in, you get a permanent employee on headcount. You can't just say to that permanent employee, actually, by the way, I'm going to knock your hours down to four a week this week, and I'm going to deduct your wages. You know, if you have a quiet month, or you go on holiday for a couple of weeks or whatever, you know, you can just say to Top Resource, and actually, can you just pause things for a couple of weeks, and I'm not going to pay anything. It's freelance. It's perfect.
Excellent.
Pete, brilliant. Thank you for sort of taking time out of your day to share what's working for you, and I found it useful. Hope everyone else did as well. For me, the key takeaways that I took were the importance of knowing your metrics. I think it was, you know, it's really good to hear you talk about the specifics of, you know, to the decimal point, how many new clients you need, how many new contractors. I thought that was really good. I think the more we all can get a grasp of that, the easier growth will be. And then also, you know, it comes up every time we do one of these tools, the mindset shift as well. I think that's fundamental to everything that you want to do in your business. Is, you know, where is your mind at? And anyone that gets successful results in this program, there's always this similar pattern. You know, every morning I do this, or every day I do this to work my mindset. And I think yeah, they're my sort of two key main takeaways. Terry, anything you'd add?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I come on these calls and have them for a long time now, and I learn every time. And you just reminded me of something. So it's more of a relearn, that you focus your effort and your time on where you're going to get the results. And it's not doing the bookkeeping, or it's not doing the chat and the stuff that we can sometimes get caught up in. It's, it is about jumping on those calls with those potential clients and getting the business. So a great reminder for me. And some of the stuff you shared there, Pete, was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much indeed. Really appreciated. Just some feedback from Damien. Totally echo the marketing piece that Pete stated. We entered into the pandemic with a huge focus on maintaining the connections and talk about non-recruitment. Let's move in. Non-recruitment matters, as Mike said. We kept front and center with the clients, and as a result, we've just been asked to support a hiring project for 50 contractors whose projects are coming back online for January 2001. Advance and conquer. That is awesome, Damien. Well done, buddy. High five on that. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. Darren, Mike, what have been your sort of key takeaways?
There's been numerous points. I think the relationship thing is key, and it's interesting to hear Pete talk about outsourcing. And you consider you're going to outsource this, but it's going to cost me money. And I would ask anybody is on this call, is your time worth more than £5 or £6 an hour? Yeah. And I'd suggest the answer is probably yes. So why, if you're not outsourcing parts of the process that are very simple admin tasks, are you doing £5 an hour jobs? Because your time's worth a lot more than that. But no, Pete, been really, really interesting, really useful. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
And for me, it's really great to see where you are now and where you've got to. I think the takeaways is actually taking action and being consistent, which is the same thing we say to everybody all the time. You probably don't need to tell me too much about outsourcing or convince me about outsourcing, but I just sent you a message there. You sound exactly like me now with about getting this off your desk and get this to someone else to do it. And so that's great. It's really, really good to see where you are, mate, and I'm looking forward to seeing the continued success.
Thanks. Cheers, Don. Appreciate that.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Tomorrow we've got our trio speakers and conversion secret session, 3 p.m. time. Come along with your questions. The aim of that session is really to get you better results, more conversations with hiring managers, hiring leaders next week, and also to convert more of those into exclusive or retained business. So join us for that 3 p.m. UK time. But yeah, apart from that, I think that's it today. Again, Pete, thanks ever so much for doing this. I know I've sort of been trying to get you on for a while, but yeah, it's been worth the wait.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Cheers, Pete.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Take care. Take
Thanks,
action.
mate.
And be relentless. Cheers, folks.
Nice.